Welcome everyone to the Proven Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Church. I'm a music producer from Northeast Ohio. I began this weekly interview series to give you different perspectives from artists, producers, engineers, and other individuals in the music industry. In each episode, we touch on not only what has helped the person succeed, but we also touch on what has shaped them into the person that they are today. I hope you're able to gain some real proven knowledge from the show, and that it helps elevate you on your own journey to success as well. Let's get into it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 196 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Today I welcomed a West Coast artist, producer, and DJ. She goes by the name of Awks Cord. She actually followed me on Instagram, I believe in December, somewhere in there. And I just remember, seeing her content continuously popping up on my feed, her music, and I was like, I could tell she was doing really cool stuff. So I reached out to her about being on the podcast. She actually said she followed me initially from the podcast and was already a listener and was familiar with the platform. So it was very cool to have her on the show today. We talked about her new project called Wanna Smoke. She definitely covered a lot of ground in the introduction about, her experience in music, being involved in the band, different instruments she played growing up, how that led her to becoming a producer, becoming a DJ, and then managing another producer as well before she decided that she wanted to step out and become an artist herself and start performing, start doing all these things. She talked about what she has planned coming up, some different shows that she's going to be doing in the local area, and potentially a album release party as well, which I think will be very cool. She's just doing a lot of cool things that I can just tell in this episode. She has a lot of passion for not only music, but independent artists and just inspiring others, which I think is just super cool. And that's the fabric of what we do every day. And I just want to say again to her, thank you for supporting the platform. And I hope you guys enjoy this episode as always. So without further ado, let's get into this one. All right, well, welcome everyone to episode 196 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Today we have a really dope artist. Just connected with her on Instagram, probably like a few weeks back at this point. Artist, producer, DJ, does a lot of cool things. She has a new project called Wanna Smoke that just dropped in January. Everybody, please welcome Awks Cord to the show. How you doing today?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. And like I said, I'm happy that we got in touch because I had saw that you followed me a couple months back and knew about the podcast already and knew kind of what we do over here. And, it's going to be great to get to know you more today. And that's kind of how we start off every episode, is just have the guest give some background. How'd you get into music? How long have you been at it? Just some basic info for those that might not know you and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's funny because my musical background definitely starts a very long time before I started recording. So I do feel like it's relevant. For a lot of artists, I feel like it's relevant, I started in music as a kid, and pretty much as early as you can be put in band class. And I started out playing clarinet, which I hated. So after about 2 months, I played it because my brother played it, so it was like a hand-me-down. And then I basically wanted to be a drummer and switch over to percussion. And since I was going to quit band if my mom didn't let me, she basically eventually obliged, which turned out to be like the most life-changing decision I could have made at 8 or 9 years old. Because I became that was like my personality and my identity. I was a drummer. I was a percussionist. It's what I did. I spent, I was like one of those kids that did every single music program that you can growing up. So I was in choir, I was in band, I was in drama. I did orchestra on the weekends, literally as kind of full-blown music nerd as you can get. And I really, the whole time, I was also, like I said, so I knew a lot of different elements of music at the time. Doing theater was really exciting to me, but I also really liked singing, but I loved drumming, and I couldn't ever really decide or how to put it all together. When I went to college, I went to Washington State University, and I went for percussion performance. So I started as a music ed degree, pretty quickly realized I love performing. I'm pretty much only trying to do that. And so as I end up transitioning, I'm at college and I'm realizing I've pretty much learned everything that everyone around me was learning in the music department still. I'd been taking private lessons since like the 10th grade. So I pretty much felt like this was a waste of $80,000. I should probably not graduate from this college. And I loved Wazoo. I loved the college. I loved everything about it. It's not that, you know what I mean? It was just like, as a person who kind of put in the 10,000 hours before I went to college, I was like, oh, maybe this really like, maybe I don't want to play like timpani or the triangle or marimba for the rest of my life. Even though I love those things, but it just wasn't like doing it, for me. And at the time, my love for hip hop definitely grew. I started going to a lot of shows. I started really liking electronic music, which really got me into production. And the dream pretty quickly shifted from like becoming the best, at physical instrument to being like a really great producer, because I love electronic music. I love hip hop. Like, that feels like my place, you know what I mean, as the producer, basically. And for a couple years I did that. And just as a side note, I own a business, and so over the last few years I kind of put music on the back burner to like actually just grow this business. And I really felt like at the time it was kind of the right thing to do. And eventually I start managing my friend, who is a producer as well. Her name's Ashwave. She produced one of the tracks on my project called Low Key. And I just realized in like helping her kind of get her career set up that I really missed doing music, and that it was just weird to, just make beats on my computer by myself in a room after having done kind of all the things that I'd done with music. So some of the cool things that I did in college, like my college orchestra got to play with the band Kansas. So, we got to play like a full-blown orchestra concert with them and like be their backup orchestra, which was really cool. In high school, I got to go to Carnegie Hall and sing in Carnegie Hall, like with my choir. So, and then I did a thing called drum corps, where like you basically rehearse once a month, and then in the summer you go on tour, and you drive around the country and sleep on high school floors, and you compete against other drum corps that are like age 16 to 21 year old kids who are basically all trying to become really good musicians for their music majors mostly. So it's like a little training ground thing, but it is like a world-class competition organization, and it's actually really difficult. And I did it for 3 years before I was like, oh, okay, like I want to be a producer, and all of these things are cool, and they're like great accomplishments in music, but they're not like, making a track with Skrillex, which was my real dream, you know what I mean? So I figured out pretty quickly that if I wanted to work in the actual music industry, focusing on like instruments and everything I was focusing on wasn't really like going to do what I wanted it to do. You know what I mean? So at that point, I ended up meeting, like COVID hit, my business is, like, I'm still running it, but I'm definitely like, okay, I'm feeling how everyone is feeling, like probably about their jobs at this point, just like frustrated that like I started a business to like help people, and it ended up turning into like the same feeling you have when you have a job, where you're just like, yeah, I'm coming here like morning to night to like make money and make it happen, but it's not like the thing I love doing, And so that became just really like monotonous, and the universe kind of sent me at that time some new friends from New York who are all rappers, and all of their friends were rappers, and all of a sudden everyone around me was just here in LA trying to record, and it just ended up changing my life. I was around so many people that needed beats, or they wanted to link with the right producer or whatever, and so just being around and bringing my friends to the studio and seeing the whole process of recording, I became way less intimidated by it. And I was like, wow, I've kind of put this to the side as something that seemed really unattainable for so long, because just of all the obvious reasons. I think any artist feels that way. When you start out, you're just like, wow, there's a lot to like conquer to be able to do all of this. You know what I mean? So then I kind of easily transitioned. Like, I still have my business, but the more I started recording, the more like I loved doing that instead. And I was like, wow, this just feels like the thing I'm supposed to be doing. And every time I would go to record, I would just be like lost in it for hours and have so much fun. And then I'd go back to like my actual business, and I'm like, wow, yeah, okay. Like, again, this is awesome. But and I'm not ungrateful by any means for it. But, it's just like realizing you don't want to spend your whole life doing the wrong thing, even if that's just working a job or whatever, right? It's the same feeling. So yeah, that actually really prompted me to start recording. And my first track, if you guys do get a chance to listen to the project, it's called Wanna Smoke, and it's on all platforms. Well, it should be. And if you do get a chance to listen to it, the first track I ever recorded was Money Talk. And a lot of people are so surprised about it. They're like, how is this like your first track you ever recorded? I'm like, I don't know. But if you are an artist out there and, like, for example, you make something that sounds really good to you, that is enough. You know, like, that is like why I kept going. It wasn't because like I thought Money Talk's like the best track ever in comparison to, you know, maybe another artist out in the world or other female rappers or just whatever, music in general. But I did feel like, wow, this is like incredible that I made this. And like, if this is the first thing that I'm capable of, then like obviously I want to see like what I could do. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that really encouraged me. And once I had been recording for about a year, I had a lot of tracks that I'd shown a lot of my friends in the industry and just people that I had met along the way. And a lot of people were encouraging me to put out a project. And I just kept saying, like, I don't know, I have 500 followers on Instagram. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I'm not even at the point as an artist that I feel like putting out a project makes sense. But I kept getting encouraged. Like, every single person that I would show my music to is like, why haven't you put out a project yet? I'm so confused. I'm like, oh, okay, you're right. And then the music, to be honest, like, I started to feel like, okay, I really want to put it out now just so that I can go on to new music. You know what I mean? So that's where we're at. We just dropped Wanna Smoke. And now I'm actually, like, working on visuals for it. So if you are a fan that's listening, you will get some visuals for the project. No, I didn't drop them at the same time as I dropped the music. Like, people are, like, thinking is really, like, that's how it, like, should be these days. And I'm like, again, just for smaller artists, like, that's a really crazy expectation, I think. When it becomes, like, full-time, something I'm able to, like, focus full-time on, then, like, definitely I'll be on a schedule of, you know, dropping. But for now, enjoy Wanna Smoke for sure.
Yeah. Well, I got to say, congratulations. You successfully answered at least half of my questions list just now. So you're a pro at this. You're a pro at this podcast stuff. Gosh. So thank you for that, because I think that gave people a very thorough, like, detailed explanation of your journey so far. You know what I mean? And from what I've just heard, I could tell that, you know, you've kind of let this whole thing kind of naturally happen. Like, you kind of just went from one thing to the next. And it sounds like music was always involved, like, no matter what. You know what I mean? I love what you said about, you know, even though you had your own business and still have your own business, it definitely still doesn't feel like it's what you were called to do. And music was still always the thing that you wanted to do, and you've always kept it involved. I think that's super vital, super important to anybody that, you know, should and can be able to do that. You know what I mean? As long as it's there and you have that passion for it, you just got to keep going. So congrats on that, and congrats obviously on the project and just every step of the journey that's led you to this moment. Because I think it's just, it shows that, like you said, you looked at your followers and you were like, I don't know if I should drop this. But it's like, there really is no perfect time. You know what I mean? The perfect time is now. So it's like, you just got to jump in and keep going for it. And it sounds like that's what you've done this whole time, is just you keep going for it and just keep striving to be better and, you know, keep it up every day. So I just got to say that, because I love that whole recap of, you know, from where you've been to where you are now. And even the producing and working with another producer and managing and all that stuff. I think it's just going to keep growing from here. So it's super awesome. And, you know, obviously Wanna Smoke out now. Definitely check it out, guys. For you, is there, because you said you want to do visuals, things like that, do you envision doing maybe live performing eventually of this project? Have you done live shows yet as an artist, or that's something that's on the list of goals that you're looking to do, like, in the future, you think?
Yeah, so great question. Actually, I want to actually have, like, probably a listening party type situation in LA to start, and I'm probably going to do that in the beginning of March. But yeah, I do plan to perform. I actually was just asked to perform in Pomona and a different place in LA in March. So I think I'll probably kind of start scheduling everything again back around March. I have performed in the past. I probably performed my music about 4 times now, and one time was a show that I threw though, and had like kind of an artist showcase and had other artists perform at. And another one I was like asked to perform, and I ended up being the DJ because they didn't have a DJ, so the whole event wasn't gonna happen like if I didn't end up DJing. So that was really fun. That was my first time performing in Hollywood. And so yeah, last year was like a really cool kind of and it's interesting because I think there's 2 approaches as a small artist too. Obviously you could wait until you have, you know, a much bigger following to go out into the world. But I was the type of artist that, and it wasn't like, oh, I wanted to be validated as an artist. It was like, I wanted to make sure people like this music. So let me go perform it and see like people's reactions. And then we had talked briefly right before we started, and I think you said you liked the song Little Step off the project. And I just want to bring this up because that track actually would have never made it onto any project or probably even been released if I hadn't performed it at that show in Hollywood that I was just talking about. And girls were twerking in the front row, and I was just like, what is happening? This is the greatest day of my life. Like, I did it. I made a track that girls want to fucking dance to. I was just so like, it was so cool. And I was just like, wow, like, imagine, like, you know, were a hater about this song and didn't even think that it was, like, good. So, I mean, and also, I feel like as an artist, you never know. You never know. And so that's why, like, for me, performing helps me. I mean, a lot of DJs do that. They'll play out their tracks that aren't necessarily fully polished yet to see if the crowd is, like, and if the crowd doesn't have, like, a certain reaction, they're like, track is not finished. You know what I mean? And so I kind of took that approach just in the beginning. I saw that one of my friends was doing an artist showcase, and, like, you basically just sold tickets to perform, and I was like, oh, like, I'm pretty sure I could sell a couple tickets. And I did, and it was cool, like, have my friends come out for my first show. And so at the time, I only had 3 tracks, and the performance was only 3 songs long. And so I just performed, or maybe I had, like, 4 tracks. I just performed 3 of them. And I was really nervous for my first performance. So I actually don't think you should wait until you're, like, a super big artist or could sell out 200 people. Because a lot of artists... Hear me out. A lot of artists want to look really good at their first couple shows. You know what I mean? And I respect it. I totally understand it. Like, you want it to look good for the internet, blah, blah, blah. I totally get it. But, like, I am a performer, right? Seasoned performer. And so I do know that if I'm nervous, like, for my first show and there's 500 people in front of me versus 100, like, it's not it. That's not the vibe. You're not... Like, and this is no shade to, like, Ice Spice at all, but if you look at her first, like, when she first went viral and she was being put on, like, Rolling Loud stages, and it's like, she was in artist development. This isn't, like, any hate towards her. It's like, I thought at the time, why would her team put her on Rolling Loud for, like, one of her first performances? It's just, like, insane to do to an artist, you know what I mean? So don't wait. Like, go find local people that are throwing shows, like, local promoters. Go to a couple of shows, you'll meet people who are throwing them, and people will invite you. You know what I mean? So that's definitely my advice if you're an artist and you want to get started at shows, because now, like, I notice as the audiences are a little bit bigger, I'm obviously still nervous, right? Like, a little nervous when I start, but I'm way more comfortable because I have had to perform for 15, 30 people, 25 people, 50 people, or whatever. And it's good. I feel like it's like if you really do, a lot of artists want to become really big performers, right? Because it's like the main way that artists can survive in this industry. So I feel like starting small is like really, really, really important. So I'm trying to throw a couple like intimate hip hop shows this year that I might open for someone that, you know what I mean, is like a really great artist. But there's only going to be 2 or 3 artists on the lineup, and there are probably only going to be 50 to 100 people at the show. And that's still, like, really valuable to me right now. You know what I mean, as an artist.
Yeah.
So, and then actually, you know, I didn't clear this before, so sorry. This is a not thing you didn't want me to talk about. But I am throwing an event for Palestine. I'm organizing an event to raise money to donate to Palestine. And starting with LA, I'm from Washington, so hopefully doing one in Seattle as well. And that's a really big thing I'm working on right now. And it's not just me. I have a team of people working on it with me, and that's called Art for the World. So yeah, that's kind of a side project. And it's not just Palestine. We're trying to raise money for the Congo, for South Sudan, pretty much anywhere affected by genocide right now, which is multiple places. So yeah, I'm really into throwing shows, and I hope to throw more shows this year. And then I also hope to, perform at a couple. If you are an artist, by the way, that wants to perform in LA, then you should definitely DM me.
Hey there, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a quick minute out to let you know about a couple different ways that you can support the podcast. One of the ways is by clicking that support the podcast button within your streaming platform. That is if you want to be a monthly supporter of the show. You can contribute either 99 cents, $5, or $10 a month. So that's the first way, and that's the more traditional way that we've had now for the last couple years. The other method that we actually just recently introduced is from our good friends over at Ko-fi. Ko-fi is a virtual tip jar. We have set our limit to a minimum of $10, but you can go make one-time, one-off donations. So if you visit ko-fi.com/the Proven Knowledge Podcast, you'll be able to donate. And all these different forms of donation go towards getting new guests every single week, getting potential sponsors on board to do giveaways, and overall just making the show better for you guys. So if you want to do that Ko-fi link, it's ko-fi.com/the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Otherwise, again, look for that support the podcast button in your streaming platform if you'd like to be a monthly supporter. And I just want to say thank you guys for your contributions. And without further ado, let's get back into the episode.
Definitely.
Most definitely, and congrats on that, because that's obviously super, super important. So I think that's great. And obviously doing the listening party I think would be awesome too, just kind of be able to celebrate the project and everything. And I love what you just said about not waiting, because it's like we said about releasing music too. Why wait when you could just jump right in and you can get all the bad stuff out of the way now? Like if you have mess ups or you're not comfortable and you want to get through all that bullshit to begin with, and you only get better as you go. So like, why not start early?
You gotta be nervous.
Exactly.
I don't care who you are, or how professional you are, but this is also the truth, right? Like in percussion, when I was in college, this is something I did not learn as a musician until college, which is crazy to think I spent 15,000-20,000 hours on music before I learned this one thing that will change your life as a musician or artist, which is do not practice something until you get it right. That's what a lot of people are like, I got it right once or twice or 3 times, I'm good, I'm done, I practiced, right? Practice until you literally cannot make a mistake. So there just isn't a mistake. You can't do it. You've repped this thing so many times that you know it so well, and then you won't be nervous. That really will change your level of nerves. But if you're like me, I have social anxiety, so I'll just walk in a room of 50 people and I'm like, oh, okay, I feel nervous right now. So it's the similar thing for me when I'm going on stage. But I'm prepared, I'm thinking hey, let me run through my song 10,000 times so that I know the words, so that I don't mess up my own words or something like that. You know what I mean? It's also funny, you'd be surprised how much artists don't know their own lyrics, and people get really weirded out by that. How do you not know your own lyrics? And I'm like, because I'm telling you, they practice till they get it right.
Yeah.
And then they practiced, you know what I mean? And the brain doesn't work that way. The brain needs so much more repetition. So
it's the power of repetition. It keeps showing up in everything we do, really, especially as artists too. And like you said, I think even with 50 people, it's I think those 50 people would remember that experience. You know what I mean? If you make it special for them, no matter if you're a big artist or not, you have something to say, you have something to share, they're going to remember that. You know what I mean? They're probably going to be a fan of you. Even if they came in not a fan of you, they're probably going to leave and say they gave it their all, they had something to share. Now I'm going to go support them. I'm going to be there for them moving forward. So, and just treat every single person you meet just the same. You know what I mean? And just keep going and keep elevating. So I definitely love all of that, 100%. We got to the last few questions here, which are all life-related questions. And the first one is, if you could go back 10 years ago, maybe give yourself a piece of advice, or maybe not change anything at all, what do you think you would do?
It's funny, I know exactly the answer to this because I was actually thinking about it yesterday. So I'm 31, and there's a trend going around right now of like posting yourself at 21, like a picture of yourself, you know? And I was just thinking, like, did I honor that person that was 21 and like what they wanted, you know, over the last 10 years? And like, yes, I did. I started the CBD business, and I pushed that forward, and I worked on that and helped a lot of people with that. That was really important to me. And I pushed forward music, and I believed in that. But I will say, I wish I believed in myself more. Because at 21, I saw this person so clearly. Like, I knew this was possible for me, right? And there were so many people along the way, whether they were valid or not valid, that didn't see what I saw, right? And so a lot of people tried to diminish my vision, tried to diminish me, tried to tell me constantly, like, oh, it's so hard, that's so hard, I don't know. And it's not just with music, it's with everything. Oh, being a female business owner is insane. Like, it's just a weird thing to do, you know, because people are shocked all the time. Or like when I'm 25, 26, and I'm meeting with like really large cannabis executives, and they're just like, how old are you? Why are we meeting? Are you 12? Like, you know what I mean? And so I wish that I believed in myself so much more over the last 10 years, because I know that, and it's not to say I regret the place I'm in, right? But it's like to know the impact that believing in yourself has, and to know that so many people are going to do whatever they can to diminish what you are. It doesn't matter like what field you're in, who you are, what you're trying to accomplish, you will experience that on the path to being successful at something. And so I think it gave me a lot of mental experience to go through the last 10 years. But if I could have put even 10%, let's just say, more belief into myself and what I did, who knows? You know what I mean? Like, it's unimaginable to me, because, and that's just like for everybody. When I see really, really young people, like 15 to 22 years old, that super believe in themselves and what they're doing, it makes me so happy, and so just like, that person's got it. They've got it figured out. They're going to make it happen. They know what to do. You know what I mean? Because it's a lot, like, it's really strange to look back at time and be like, wow, that much time passed. Like, did I like actually be the person I was trying to be, like, in the beginning of this time? And like, did I honor that? Did I stray from that? If I strayed from that, was it even a good reason? Was there a reason? Did I learn from that reason? You know, so yeah, like, having a really high level of belief in yourself. You mentioned earlier, like, that you said congratulations for transitioning, or like being able to do that. And I just want to say thank you for saying that. And I think it's really relevant to believing in yourself. I don't have a bunch of people around me that are believing in me before I started this journey, let me say, I didn't know a bunch of people that were like supporting me or pushing me to do it. It was definitely like I'm going to believe in myself and make this choice and decision, you know, that I'm going to believe that me at 21 could see me at 31 and just be like, yeah, I'm capable of doing that. And so every day I just had that vision, and I believed in that vision. And you know what I'm saying? People will try to destroy your belief in yourself. And it's sad, because it's like, that's the thing that makes everything happen in the entire world is our personal belief in ourselves, you know? So yeah, if you're an artist, confidence is literally like your best friend, and believing in yourself is going to be the easiest way to allow others to believe in you and like share that with you. So on my journey of performing for 50-room people, I have really enjoyed it much more than I could have done this any other way, because people do come up to you at the end and tell you like things that you might not have gotten to hear from 100,000 person audience, right? And connecting with people in a way, like, if I could go back 10 years and connect with more people, I would have done that. You know, I would open myself up to more people if I could. And I've met so many wonderful people. But that being said, like, those are my two pieces of advice.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely. And that's all very well said too. So.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you so much again for having me. I really do appreciate it.
Absolutely. We'll have to do this again soon. I just want to say before we wrap up, again, congrats on everything, the new project. Definitely everybody go check it out. The shows you're going to be doing, everything you got coming up. I'm excited. I'm going to stay in touch with, the music you got going, everything you're doing on social media. And thank you again for, supporting the platform. It means a lot. And yeah, if you want to come back for a part 2, let's do it next couple years.
Let's do it. For sure. I'm also going to send a couple great artists your way because I love what you're doing. And I love like, something I do want to say really fast if we have a second, which is that I spent the last, if you're an aspiring artist right now, like anywhere in the world, I spent the last 7 to 8 years in Southern California, pretty much meeting people like you every day, right? Like aspiring artists, aspiring creatives, aspiring people for success at any field, right? And the thing that my main takeaway from just watching this whole industry is that the people who are successful right now are people who are persistent with themselves, and no matter how anyone is treating them or what is happening or where they're at that day, they can see the vision that they're going for and really believe in it. And the amount of talent that I have met, it's literally unbelievable because we see on a daily basis thousands of celebrities and thousands of artists who are really great, and we know they're great. But when you go into these rooms and there's only 250 people, but 150 of them are artists, and they're all really, really, really talented people, it's like it discourages a lot of people because they see something that they think is like someone's further than them or better than them, right? And it's like they're not. They're just more unique in the sense that they're taking themselves and putting themselves outside with the other people who are attempting to do these things onto podcasts, into spaces. And so people that are supporting small artists right now are changing the music industry. And you can see it. A lot of artists coming up and getting signed are people with 4,000 followers on Instagram, and their music is really, really good. And the music industry hasn't been like that in 10 years. So it's a better time than ever to be an artist and to try to put your music out there. Mm-hmm. And also, like, unique music is really winning right now. So if you're, like, scared that your music might not be, like, what you think, you know what I mean? Like, all artists feel that way. When I heard Little Step for the first time, I was like, oh, this is a cool track for me. Like, I'm going to listen to it, and I'm going to keep it on my phone. Like, I might show my friends. But like I said, then I showed some people, and then I performed it, and I was like, wow, okay, everybody likes this song. Like, I actually have a remix of this song, Little Step, coming out with a guy from a group called Nerd Night Music. His name's Sensei, and he's such a good rapper, and like that will come out probably in the next couple months. I'm slacking on getting some stems to him, but like that track would never exist, you know what I mean, if I didn't believe in it, like beyond like people might not like this, I don't know, you know. Yeah. So yeah, the talent is insane, and it's a great time to try. It's a great time to put yourself out there and like be a small artist, you know. So thank you for supporting small artists and making a platform that does that, because it's influential, you know. It's definitely making a difference.
Thanks everyone for listening today. That was episode 196. We'll be back this time next week. As always, hit the support button on your podcast streaming platform if you'd like to send any funds, and feel free to leave us that 5-star rating if you enjoyed today's episode. So we'll see you then. Thanks everyone.